Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful October 29th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we're waiting on trick-or-treating down here. I'm waiting on the little kids to get all their baskets together so I can set up these little booby traps outside.
Yep.
And they can walk through and, get scared and drop their basket and just fall down the trap door.
Yeah, that's funny, Big C. You know, they make kids a lot bigger now than they used to be. In fact, there's so many kids that are so big now, they get away playing high school football in Texas even when they're 30, Big C, because they're so big now. I do want to say it's all fair and love and war in the sports universe. What a beautiful day. You ever go to a smorgasbord and you eat too much food, not because you're hungry, but because they have the food there, whether it's kidney beans, lima beans, taco beans, whatever kind of beans. Big C, you ever eat deep fried kidney beans? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I ate too much today. This is one of those days when I woke up this morning and it seems like I had that endless appetite. I don't even think I was hungry when I woke up.
Wow.
But the food was available, so I just kept consuming it. Hey, I'm going to tell you this. It was all good, too.
It's always all good, Big C, especially when it's deep fried. Not healthy, but deep fried. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, I got to say the Mystics right again. I thought we were going 7 games. I'm going to stop Googling and start reading more. You said the series would not go back to Boston. I know you got better ties to Las Vegas than I do, okay? But I still tip my hat, Big C, or in your case, I tip the cup. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, just a tremendous World Series. You got to give the Dodgers credit for making it back-to-back. When you think about the difficulty of being able to go through back-to-back seasons and get to the ultimate prize chance, the World Series. I mean, the Houston Astros couldn't make it, and they won it all last year, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, you got to tip your hats to Alex Cora and the Boston Red Sox, Charlton, winning their 4th World Series in the last 15 years.
Yep.
And you think about it, this is Cora's 2nd World Series back-to-back. He was a bench coach last year in Houston.
Yeah.
And they built this Boston team basically off a scrap heap. You think about their last World Series appearance 5 years ago, Charlton. They only had one player left on the roster.
Wow. From
that last World Series appearance. So what this shows is what we saw a couple of years ago with the Chicago Cubs and Joe Madden.
Yeah.
Is that you build a team with players that buy into what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
You don't go into an organization saying, well, this guy has been here and he's the bell cow of the franchise and we got to keep him around.
Yep.
No, you bring in a bunch of guys who buy into the system that you've implemented. That's how you make winners. I mean, if you look at college football as a perfect example.
Yeah.
Did Nick Saban have anybody on the team last year that won the national championship that he had 5 years prior to that? Charlton?
No, it changes.
They were all gone.
Yeah.
So I think in professional sports you have to adapt that philosophy also. When you start looking at players that, well, he's been with the organization for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't won a championship with him in that 10 years, why is he still with the organization?
Yeah.
He may be best suited to go elsewhere. And not only that, Charlton, you get rid of the baggage that they bring along.
Yeah.
A lot of franchises, just like with the Cleveland Browns, people say, well, they got bad luck. Well, no, they got players that's been there too long.
Yep.
And if that player, and this is the new model in professional sports, there's a 5-year window for anything.
Yeah.
If nothing is successful, then it's time to go. Tom Brady's a fluke.
Yeah.
You look at Kershaw, Kershaw,
yeah.
Yeah, everybody said, well, he's the star of the team. He's the guy you got to go to.
He's not.
You look at every time he had a start. I mean, this guy's sitting there with a 7 ERA.
Yep.
You're not going to win games with a 7 ERA, and we talked about that throughout the programs, Charles.
Yeah.
That if he's going to start, then you're going to be behind from the start.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to be, and it proved itself in this series.
Yeah.
David Price, Charlton, should have been the MVP of this World Series.
Easily.
I mean, you know, everybody, he's been maligned throughout his career, Charlton, that he can't pitch in the playoffs. Well, he went out there in his last 2 games, Charlton, and allowed just 3 runs.
Yeah.
3 runs. Had 15 strikeouts and allowed 3 runs, Charlton. And the Sox won both of those, which were integral games.
Yep.
You know, Game 1 and Game 5 of the World Series. And so he was overlooked, you know, because he's been pitching against Kershaw, and everybody expects for Kershaw to have that.
You know,
but David Price didn't get it.
You know, I love the fact that you brought that up. I even heard a good old boy, A-Rod, lamenting the same thing that you talked about, but you talked about it before Game 1. He talked about it last night as they were having their roundup with Big Papi, and who's that good old boy that's always telling us to take some type of... Okay, Big Papi. There was A-Rod, and who's the guy, the bald-head guy? Kind of looks like you. He's always talking about taking some...
Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas. Frank, why do you need to take any more stimulants? Aren't you big enough? Okay. What are you trying to prove, Frank? Okay, but it's all about the things that these guys are saying. You were talking about before Game 1, how the Dodgers were going to lose this to analytics. Yeah, the Boston Red Sox were a better team. But some of the things that you said last week, they were saying after it was done. That's called being prescient when you have knowledge of things before they happen. And so again, I commend you on that. And you made it to the point where national media, and sometimes even a local team, if you're down in the LA market, is Kershaw, as opposed to looking at his numbers, just like with John Gruden in football. Quit hyping the guy's name, hype his numbers. If you look at his numbers, he gets knocked out a lot the last 2 years. The opposing batters love when Kershaw's pitching because they know they got to guarantee 1 or 2 runs. Bixby, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, he's become predictable in what he does. His fastball is not there. You know, he's relying on his slider and his curveball.
His reputation.
And so, as a batter, you can sit there and wait on that.
Yeah.
You know, and if he throws that fastball, you know the fence is not that far away at that point.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
The thing about it, like I said, we get so caught up in these iconic figures, just like with Eli Manning of the Giants. People are hesitant about saying, well, Eli is washed up. Eli can't play anymore.
Yep.
The media skates around him with kid gloves.
Yeah.
He doesn't pass the eye test. You know, you're quicker to yank another quarterback. You know, Jameis Winston loses his starting job.
Yeah.
For throwing interceptions. Eli Manning throws interceptions every game.
Yeah.
He don't lose his starting job, Charlton, and can't win a game. But Kershaw, and even when you look, Dave Roberts is going to get all the blame for what happened with the Dodgers, Charlton. But yet he's got somebody upstairs on the phone to him looking at the analytics saying you got to make this move.
Yeah.
It's amazing that managers don't get to manage anymore, Charlton.
No.
Is that you got all these statistician guys sitting there and saying, this is the move that you had to make. You think about Babe Ruth when he played baseball, Charlton. They didn't have any analytics.
No.
But when Hank Aaron and Willie Mays was playing baseball, there was no analytics. Lou Gehrig.
No.
Stan Musial. They didn't have Mickey Mantle.
No.
There was no analytics out there saying, well, you had to pull a guy for this guy.
Yeah.
Mark McGwire, you think he was worrying about who he hit a home run off of? Barry Bonds?
No.
They didn't, Charlton. Analytics didn't mean anything. But now, because everybody owns a laptop,
yeah,
analytics.
Yeah. So you're saying when Hank Aaron came up, when Babe Ruth came up, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, all them good old boys, they said, hold on. Barry said, Dusty, what are the analytics on this guy I'm about to bat against? They cared nothing about the analytics, and that's what you talked on when the Dodgers in Boston for Game 1. They left the meat of their lineup, the guys that could actually hit the ball and get them in the game, get them some runs. They were on the bench for the analytics guy to have a job, Big C, because if they didn't have an analytics section, they wouldn't have an analytics job, which goes to a guy that's mainstream. He's mainstream looking, and his friend named Joe called Bob, and Bob said, yes, Pete, you got a job. And so they make that job seem important because that's how they get another job in the clubhouse, Big C. But as you said before the series started, it's not Robert's fault that they lost. It's the analytics people and not let them do his thing. They let him manage. That's how they won. And so I'm just appreciate the fact that you brought that up.
Well, you think of this, Charlton.
Yeah.
J.D. Martinez, who was the DH all year long for Boston.
Yep.
When they went to Los Angeles, He put him in right field.
He sure did. Sure did.
He kept that bat in the lineup, who was probably going to finish second in the MVP.
Wait, hold on, Big C. What did he keep in the lineup? What?
He kept his bat
The bat, okay.
It's just making sure. He was probably going to be the second in the MVP race behind Mookie Betts, his teammate.
Yeah.
He didn't send him on the bench saying, well, he's a DH. And so since
right.
we don't have a DH in the National League ballpark, we're going to sit him down because analytics say he shouldn't be playing in the outfield because he might make an error.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Well, he hit a home run. I guess that's the error that they made by keeping him in the lineup. He hit a home run.
Yeah, that's funny. I love baseball, though, and I'll tell you why. To see Chavez Ravine jumping like that, even though the Dodgers are up against it, when they had that I think it was a 3-run home run by number 6, what's his name, that good old boy? Puig. When Puig hit the home run, and they were up 4-0. I think that was right around the 6th inning or 7th inning, and it was 4-0. You never really felt like Boston was out of it, but LA was celebrating as if they had won the World Series. I just want to get your thoughts on something, because you talked about it earlier in the NFL where the Eagles were playing a game at home versus Tennessee, and them good boys were up 17-0 in the 4th, and they were celebrating some type of end zone dance as if they had just won the game. And that's when Cam Newton and them good boys from Carolina came back and won. Do you think the Dodgers may have celebrated too soon when they acted like they were? It's like when P hit the home run, it was like they celebrated the championship. Do you think that went to their head? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they felt they were going to have another game, Charlton, that the series would be drawn even. But all you had to do was look at the history of what the Boston Red Sox had done all year.
Yeah.
Is that if there's 2 outs, there's 2 strikes, Charlton, they're the most dangerous team in all of baseball at that point.
With 2 outs,
You know, it's almost like a wounded animal. It's like, hey, I'm fighting for my life right now.
Yep.
That's how they are.
Yeah.
They become very aggressive and focused, when they have 2 strikes, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look at the runs that they scored, 80% of the runs they scored in this series, Charlton, came with 2 outs. 2 outs. You think about that. That's a phenomenal rate, Charlton, and normally pitchers get a little more comfortable when you have 2 strikes on somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, let me throw this one down the middle. Let me get it up over the plate so I can try to get this strikeout.
Yeah.
And that's what these players with Boston have understood, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that pitcher is going to become more aggressive putting the ball over the plate when he has 2 strikes because he'd love to strike you out.
Yeah.
They're not trying to get you to chase a bad pitch. They want to put it in that strike zone.
Yep.
And the discipline that Boston has developed with their hitting coach this year, Charlton, it has paid off from top to bottom. You win 108 regular season games, Charlton.
Yeah.
You win 11 playoffs and World Series games, give you 119 victories on the season, 3rd most all-time in baseball history, Charlton. That's a phenomenal feat to accomplish and end up with the World Series championship.
Yeah, that's incredible. I want to also get your thoughts on something else, too. And when you look at the crowd, there's something about the LA crowd and the Boston crowd. I think what LA experienced last night, where people were actually into the game. I mean, they were cheering and standing up and having a good time. At the same time, you would never see that many LA Dodger fans at Fenway Park in Boston as you saw Boston Red Sox fans at Dodger Stadium, Chavez Ravine, last night. Now, it's class for the Dodgers to allow them to have that celebration, on the game field. Most of the time, they have them do it in the dugout, etc., in the clubhouse. They let them do it on the field. But were you surprised at all by how many Red Sox fans actually infiltrated the LA ticket? I guess scalpers were selling tickets, whatever it was. But there were times when Boston would hit a home run, it sounded like they were almost at Fenway Park. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to understand, when you're a lifelong fan of a franchise, it's a rare opportunity to be there to witness a World Series championship. And so when you talk about the value of that ticket, it's invaluable to those people when they want to be somewhere. I mean, we've seen this in all championships games, Charlton, whether it's in college football, college basketball, the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball. We see these exorbitant prices. If you recall, just a couple of years ago, there was a fan that paid, I believe, some $96,000 for 2 Cubs tickets.
Yeah.
To see the Cubs have an opportunity to win the World Series.
Yeah.
So that the value of that ticket is based on the individual that's placing the preciousness on being there at that event.
Big C,
so you had fans.
Was that the game where you actually snuck into the stadium and saw for free? Big C, is that the game?
I went in with the rodents. I went through some cracks and everything. So they didn't actually. That's when I was a little thinner.
Yeah.
Before I gained the weight.
Yeah, that's funny.
But when you think about that fans will pay the price that's demanded. We saw that last year even with Golden State.
Yeah.
In Cleveland in Game 4 of that series, Charlton.
Yep.
That there were fans paying $40,000 for a couple tickets.
Yeah.
So this happens. The price of being around history. To some people that has waited a lifetime, Charlton, is invaluable.
Yeah. I thought that was incredible. But again, congratulations to Boston and congratulations to LA. I know we're in a world of Monday morning quarterbacks and Monday morning pitchers, but the Dodgers did themselves. I thought they played great enough, especially when they had that 18-inning game. It just doesn't make any sense that, but they play until people drop off, Big C. I mean, some sports they would say, look, we're going to call it right now and we'll just resume the game tomorrow, but not in this game. I think there could be a health issue when you go that far, but I was just impressed to see how there were a lot of people who gave their all. I mean, we look at Manny Machado, and there was some talk that maybe he's going to be a $300 million player. And I'm just going to ask you, if you saw his performance in the World Series, why? Why would he be worth $300 million? Because not only did he was the last strikeout, but he was on his knees when he struck out the last bat. He wasn't someone that was consistent. Boston's players were consistently hitting home runs and consistently getting players on base. And even Puig, as dominant as he is, I mean, Puig played a decent series. Every hit wasn't a home run, but he was getting on base. But, Machado, I thought, to be so braggadocious, Big C, he might learn a little bit of humility, especially when he's talking and jawing at the officials or the umpire a lot, and then being the guy that can't get a hit for his team, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the thing about baseball, it's a game of streaks.
Yeah.
And you can be hot all year long, and you get into the World Series, and you hit that cold streak.
Yeah.
We see that so often with many batters, Charlton. Machado just happened to be one of them, and by having a big name, fans expect for you to perform all the time.
All the time, yeah.
You look at Machado and you compare him to Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts only had one significant hit.
A home run, yeah.
And he's going to be the MVP of the American League.
Wow.
He had one home run in this whole World Series.
Yeah.
So his series compared to Machado is basically the same.
Yeah.
The Dodgers made the move with Machado because they had injuries, so they made that trade.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be back with Los Angeles next year. He's going to go someplace where he can go back
get the money,
to play in his traditional third base position, Charlton. And so he'll get a big free agent contract from some team.
Yeah.
But, the thing about this is like Kershaw. We talk about Kershaw. All year long, he's the Dodgers ace, or he's considered the Dodgers ace.
Yeah.
He gets to the playoffs and World Series, Charlton.
He tightens up.
He's just a pedestrian pitcher.
Yeah.
You should have been the pitcher. He was the one that was the more dominant of the two in all of his outings.
He was.
But, you get that namesake, you get that star appeal, as they say in sports, that everybody wants to see a certain individual.
Yeah.
And that certain individual is not always going to be able to answer the bell, Charlton.
No, not at all. I think the $30+ million that he makes, get the money, obviously, but sometimes you got to look at numbers and look at who's actually hot. And I hope Kershaw gets better. But I doubt it. They were making excuses. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he's not. If you're injured, don't play the game and ruin it for your team. I just thought he was hit by a better team. And so congratulations, the Boston Red Sox, them good old boys from Beantown, the 2018 World Series champions. I just hate seeing them good old boys from the East Coast celebrate on the East Coast. I do want to go back in time. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, they had that get-together commercial talking about we'll see each other again. It's amazing how many times Boston and Los Angeles have met for a championship. We always think about being the Lakers and the Celtics, but to see the Dodgers and the Red Sox. But also when the Patriots beat the Rams, even though the Rams had moved to St. Louis, their origins were still in Los Angeles. So a great commercial by Magic and Bird, and hopefully we'll get the chance to do this dance again soon. Speaking of NBA dancing, the Cleveland Browns, not the Cleveland Browns, but the Cleveland Cavaliers fired Tyronn Hugh the same day the Cleveland Browns fired Hugh Jackson. Let's start with Hugh Jackson first in the NFL. They fired head coach Hugh Jackson and offensive coordinator Todd Haley. Was it the right time? Should they have waited longer, Big C? I mean, he had more wins than John Gruden, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about it. They had more wins, losses by less than 7 points than they did anything else.
Yeah.
But, when is ever the right time to fire a coach? Whenever there's a time, you can't figure that out. The firing of Hugh Jackson, though, Charlton, I think a lot of that comes from the friction that was gaining within the coaching staff about play calling and, him, wanting to demote Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, and him taking over the play calling.
Yeah.
And, they're more concerned about the development of the young players. If you look at the Cleveland Browns and the players that they've accumulated in the last couple of drafts, Charlton, they've had a stockpile of young players that they've gotten each year. I mean, they've had 2 draft picks in the first round the past couple of years, and they're all starters.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at that. The biggest thing that they have with Mayfield is that he's undisciplined also.
Yeah.
It's not just the coach. It's that he's not throwing the ball on time.
No.
And so, when players make mistakes, it's easier to get rid of a coach.
Yeah.
You can't go out and fire 15, 20 players. You go out and fire a coach.
Yeah.
Not that you're going to have anything to fix the remedy right away. Greg Williams is going to take over as the interim head coach. Now, Greg Williams, his big claim to fame is being suspended by the NFL for a year when he's the defensive coordinator.
What a bargain.
With the New Orleans Saints.
What a bargain.
When they had Bountygate, where they beat the Vikings in the NFC Championship game when Brett Favre was the quarterback and they won the Super Bowl.
I remember.
But that's Greg Williams. I mean, the NFL felt that he wasn't suitable to coach for a year.
Yeah.
So they kicked him out of the league.
Yeah.
But, the Browns, if you talk about their offense, their defense is the same way. Pittsburgh hung up 33 points on them over the weekend, and now you're going to make Greg Williams the head coach.
Yeah.
What does he know about offense, as far as running one?
Yeah.
But, I look at what they did in Cleveland this week, Charlton. You get rid of 2 minority coaches.
Yep.
And the one that perplexed me and probably everybody else in the media is, why do you fire Tyronn Lue? Here's a guy that's gone to the last 3 NBA championships.
And won one
the
of them.
last 3.
Yep.
Won one of them. Yes, he's 0-6 this year, Charlton. Kevin Love is out for a month with a foot injury.
Yep.
What else? And he's your franchise player now.
Yeah.
But he's out of the lineup. So I guess as a coach, you're responsible
His
for
foot.
the toe injury that a player gets also.
It's Tyron's fault that he had a toe injury, Big C.
But, for Gilbert to make this move, Charlton, right now, and you get rid of a coach that's done what Tyronn Lue has done,
Yeah.
who are you going to go get? Yes, you got an interim coach in, but as far as just on the long-term perspective, Charlton,
Yeah.
there's no quick fix in Cleveland. The bet was that Cleveland wouldn't win 25 games this year. That's not based on a coach. That's just based on the lack of talent. That shows you how important LeBron was to that thing.
Yeah.
But back to Cleveland, Charlton. Their head coach next year will be Lincoln Riley, who's the head coach at Oklahoma right now.
Yeah.
He will leave Oklahoma at the end of the season once their season is done,
To Coach Baker.
and he'll be named the new head coach of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
At that point, the University of Oklahoma will go hire Josh Heupel, who's down at Florida International, who's a quarterback with Oklahoma,
Yep.
some years back.
Yeah.
So that's how that coaching carousel is going to go. Lincoln Riley is going to come to the NFL because they're going to look at what Sean McVay has done in
LA.
Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and try to emulate that same thing in Cleveland.
Yep. That's a very good knowledge, Big C. And I wish everybody well. And then back to Tyronn Lue, to lose a job when you've been to the promised land the last 3 years, and people say, no, it's just LeBron James. If it was just LeBron James, why didn't you do more to keep LeBron James if that's the guy you really wanted to keep there instead of Tyronn Lue? But congratulations, if you can get a job, you get a job. I want to just touch on something in the world of college football, because right now, nothing looks like it looked when it started the season, especially when you get outside of that top 5, Big C. Of course, Alabama's consistent. Georgia's they're consistently up there, and you look at teams like Auburn's gone. Washington, for Christ's sakes, lost to Cal Berkeley. The Washington Huskies were preseason Pac-12 favorites, and they end up losing the game to Cal Berkeley on the farm. So I don't know how they could have even been in the top 10 when you look at that, Big C. But give me Big C's college football Power 5 rankings. I want to get your thoughts as things are changing, and I think the bowl rankings are coming out on Tuesday, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, really, there's only a power three when you realistically look at it. You think about the teams that are in the playoffs. Alabama's going to be in the playoffs. Even if they lose to LSU, they will be in the playoffs. Clemson has nobody that can run a roadblock on them, Charlton.
No.
Notre Dame, I think they're playing you next week.
Yeah, they might. And I think I'm a 1-point favorite, Big C. I'm a 1-point favorite.
So, I mean, when you're realistically looking at it, the committee would love to see Michigan in there, Charlton, when you look at the teams outside the top three.
Yeah.
They would love to see Michigan. I don't think that LSU would beat Alabama this week, Charlton. So there's no need to even ranking a team 4 through whatever,
Yeah.
Because it's going to change. Every week there's 2 teams in the top 10 that lose. Every week.
Yeah.
It's going to continue. So I look at Michigan right now, realistically penciling them at 4 because I see LSU dropping to Alabama. So that won't be part of the equation, Charlton. Georgia's going to move back up with their victory against Florida last week.
Yeah.
They're going to find a way to get them in. But I think the team that everybody has to look out for is Oklahoma. Yes, they had that loss to Texas.
Yeah.
But people forget they scored 45 points. It wasn't like when you look at these other teams that lost, Charlton, they barely get to 20.
Ohio State.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Ohio State, Texas.
Yeah.
And everybody else that has lost the game, LSU, Florida, Georgia. This is a team went out there and hung 45 points. Their defense just didn't show up.
Yeah.
But it cost their defensive coordinator his job.
Yeah.
But I look at Central Florida, Charlton. 2 teams in front of them lose. They were 9. They were number 10 last week.
Yeah.
2 teams lose. They move up to number 9. How do you, as a committee, say that this team doesn't warrant? They're one of 4 unbeaten teams left in the country.
Yeah.
And they can only get one position move up when 2 teams above them lose. You look at Texas. Texas was number 6.
Yeah.
They lost. They fell all the way down to 15.
Yep.
And Central Florida stays undefeated with 20 consecutive games, and they can only go to number 9, Charlton.
And haven't lost in 2 years. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to try to figure out what the polls are thinking, Charlton, other than favoritism and the size of your stadium.
Yeah, that's true. So Alabama 8-0. And they're right now going to play number 4 LSU on CBS Sports. That game's going to be on Saturday. Clemson's also 8-0 with a 59-10 beat down of Florida State. And Florida State looked like they were still in practice. You know how you'd have spring drills? They just seemed like they were not emotionally ready for that game. I've never seen that stadium so empty. Notre Dame 8-0.
Charlton, they didn't even start the stadium with the game with the stadium empty. That was the first time I've seen that in forever.
Yeah.
And that was the worst home defeat in Florida State's history. Think about that. So if you saw the stadium and there was 20,000 empty seats in that game, you can imagine what's going to be in the next home game, Charlton.
Yeah, that's incredible, Big C. So the Clemson's playing Louisville, ABC noon on Saturday. Notre Dame, they had a 44-22 win over Navy. That's not that impressive, the win over Navy, but Navy also played Oklahoma close. Now they play Saturday at Northwestern on ESPN, 7:15 game. Northwestern, that's a team that always has some promise, but that should be an easy win for Notre Dame. LSU,
they're in the hunt for the Big Ten title, Charlton. Northwestern is. They right now have the inside on the Big Ten West.
Yeah, but Nebraska.
I can't remember how many teams in that conference.
They got like 30 teams in that conference, Big C. But I know Nebraska almost got them, and so that's a game that Notre Dame should really romp on that one. LSU number 4, and they're playing Alabama on CBS 8 o'clock. The smart thing for that game is at nighttime down there in Baton Rouge. I just want to get your thoughts though. I know we talk about day games, night games. A lot of Pac-12 games they start out here at 7:30, which is 10:30 East Coast time. But is it really that much more of an advantage down south at nighttime when Buford T. Justice has gone to sleep? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they got a lot of bugs down there in Louisiana at night. I mean, they fly all up in your face mask, in your nose, in your eyes, everything. That's the reason why they like to have night games down in the swamp, Charlton. So, they get the mosquitoes out on you, they suck in your blood, and you're kind of weak.
That's all part of it, Big C.
You got to look at all of that. I mean, but, this is going to be an intriguing matchup.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow is the X factor in this game. Everybody knows what Tua is going to do.
Yeah.
LSU has as good athletes on defense as anybody in college football.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow has not faced this type of competition, even though he's beaten 4 ranked teams thus far this year in the country, Charlton.
Yeah.
He hasn't faced Alabama, so this is a big up. I mean, he came from Ohio State as a transfer, so he always has known what the bright lights are all about in college football.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Big C, we have Georgia 7-1. They're playing Kentucky, ranked number 12. That's a CBS Sports game at 3:30 kickoff. They beat Florida 36-17. Great tailgate party. I thought I saw some good boys walking around with some bulldogs. That makes sense. You got a mascot walking around with a bulldog. But I saw some good boy. He had an alligator on a chain. Does that make any sense? An alligator on a chain? Mix your thoughts.
Put it this way: you don't have to worry about anybody coming into your yard that you don't want in. You know how some people have yards and they would turn his dog loose, and all of a sudden you go out there and you got a package in your yard. You don't want a dog. Have a dinner and let that dog come in your yard, Charles.
Yeah, I was saying they better hope Big C's not down there. That'll be one of the things on the menu at Big C's restaurants. But that's a lot of moxie to walk around the alligator on a chain. Michigan 7-1, playing number 13 Penn State at ESPN 3:45 kickoff. Big C, one of those teams again has everything to lose. That's Michigan. Penn State should play loose. That game's at the Big House. But Franklin needs a big win to knock off somebody. I don't know if them good old boys officials in the Big Ten will let that happen because they don't have Ohio State this year to count for the college bowl games unless somebody else big loses. I think Michigan will have fewer penalties in that game, whether they rule or not. Big, see your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a game that Michigan has to get by to have that matchup with Ohio State.
Yeah.
And we're talking about national attention when it comes to that.
Yeah.
That game between those two rivals is a very bitter game, Charlton. It hasn't had an opportunity to live up to that hype yet because Michigan has always come in with 2 or 3 losses when they've gotten to that game. Both of those teams have one defeat. Penn State has been troubled in their last couple of games, Charlton. They've lost that explosiveness on offense. Michigan, it seems to be finding its legs. They're getting better and better, and so this is a game that they finally have some offense. They have a quarterback that can make the big plays.
Yep.
And to have them win this game, Charlton, and set up that end-of-the-year game against Ohio State, college football really needs that.
That's a good point, Big C. So Oklahoma at Texas Tech on ABC Sports. That game is Saturday. They beat Kansas State 51-14. Ohio State, they'll play Nebraska, which is an easy win for them. Central Florida, talked about them. Thursday, they play Temple on ESPN, and Central Florida hasn't lost a game in 2 years. West Virginia 6-1. Saturday versus number 15 Texas, and they defeated Baylor 58-14. Want to get your thoughts on this. Texas had everything going for them since they got the win over USC, which also lost to Arizona State this weekend at the Coliseum, snapping their 18-game win streak. So we do play to win the game. Texas had everything going for them, Big C. They had the national hope, all the national attention. They went down and played, I'm 40, I'm a man, and they did that good old thing that they do down south. They whipped them, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we had talked last week about the emotion that Oklahoma State would have in this game because they were celebrating the 30th anniversary of Barry Sanders winning his Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
And Mike Gundy was the quarterback on that team, so he had ties all the way through in this. So, the thing about being able to get your team up for that one game that they really need to get up for, Charlton, he was able to do that. And Texas just had no answers for them on defense.
No.
Texas had shot themselves in the foot because they benched their starting cornerbacks on disciplinary actions for the first quarter.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State had hung up 2 touchdowns by that point by the time they got back in the game, Charles.
Yeah.
And their passing game was crisp. Their running game was solid. But Texas, it seems to be a one-dimensional team. Everybody keeps saying they're back.
Yeah.
Their defense was just not up to the challenge of the emotion of this Oklahoma State team this past weekend, Charlton. And you want to give credit to Oklahoma State and Coach Gundy.
Yep.
When you talk about Coach Herman, everybody said Texas is back. They're back from where?
Yeah.
You know, that's always the question that I've always wondered. When people say somebody's back, where were they at? Were they in the abyss somewhere that we didn't know about? Texas is who they were at the start of the season.
Yeah.
They're a middle-of-the-road team, Charlton. They're not a national championship contender.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We do hope that they can keep the good boys happy down in Texas. I do want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Big C, I want to get on some thoughts about the NFL. I thought it was a great weekend for NFL football, and I just want to get your thoughts on what people thought was maybe the biggest game. The Rams 29, the Packers 27. In front of a packed house in L.A., they had about 75,000 in the house. And there was just so much sports in Los Angeles over the weekend. Really impressed to see that big crowd at the Coliseum. But a lot of those fans also were cheering for the Green Bay Packers. Give me your thoughts on that game and why Gurley goes down on the 3-yard line with a minute left, and they could have gone up a little bit more. But that would have crossed the point spread, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that hurt a whole lot of people when they took a knee down at the 40-yard line. You know, Todd, we understand you got the largest running back contract in NFL history.
Yeah.
But everybody else don't have that contract. we rely on our bets that we make on our fantasy leagues in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That's what we rely on to make our money, and Todd hurt a whole lot of it because the spread was 9.
Yeah.
That would have covered the spread, Charlton.
What a bargain. What a bargain.
You know, so, you know, Todd got to be careful when he walk out his house. That's all I got to say. You got to be careful.
Big C,
you never know who's around there.
What if he loses the rushing title by 1 yard?
Then he'll feel our pain, Charlton.
You feel our pain
that the rest of us. You know, everyone touted about this game, Charlton, and it was the best matchup in the NFL over the week. It was a good matchup. It wasn't the best matchup in the NFL, Charlton. The two best matchups in the NFL were Kansas City and Denver, and Cincinnati and Tampa.
Yeah.
Those are the two most exciting games of the week in the NFL. This game had a lot of electricity.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I'm looking at the media all the time talking about, well, Aaron Rodgers didn't get a chance to pull out his 2-minute magic.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Rams took away that opportunity from him.
Yeah.
That's what good teams do, Charlton. They don't give you an opportunity to beat them.
Yeah.
And that's where the Rams are. The Rams are not 8-0 by a fluke, okay? They do what they do. They do what they do in all three facets of the game.
Yeah.
Offensively, defensively, and special teams, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what makes the difference. It's not just Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not the only reason why the Green Bay Packers win or lose. I mean, when they lost 2 weeks ago in Detroit, special teams, Cosby misses 4 kicks. That was the difference in the game. Aaron Rodgers had his hands on the ball every one of those drives, Charlton. But he couldn't finish them off in the end zone. So why didn't they win the games? Aaron Rodgers had the ball 4 times. That's 28 points. If he gets into the end zone, the game's not even close. But he had to put it in the hands of a kicker. So there was no guarantee in this game, even though Montgomery fumbled the kickoff, that Aaron Rodgers was going to go down and put this ball in the end zone, or even put it in field goal range, Charlton.
I agree.
That's one of the things that the media doesn't understand. They keep talking about Aaron Rodgers, tremendous quarterback, great talent, highest paid player in the league. But I'm still trying to remember the last time he won a Super Bowl.
Long time. See, there you go again with the fact. Why can't you just be like everybody else, Big C? Here you come with those facts again, Big C. Your thoughts?
You know, I'm trying to remember the last time the Packers won 12 games. Okay? Let's get realistic about this. I'm not taking any away from Aaron Rodgers. Been one of the best talents to ever to play the position. But, you know, I kind of like Drew Brees.
So do I.
Here's a guy that he delivers it for you. He's not looking for an excuse.
No.
You know, if there's a mistake made, there's a mistake made. He's not blaming his teammates. I mean, I watch Aaron Rodgers all the time. When a receiver doesn't run the right route, how he wants to yell at them, point at them, and get in their face. Who gets in Aaron Rodgers' face when he throws an interception?
Nobody.
When he takes a sack. When he fumbles. You know, when he throws an incompletion. Who gets in Aaron Rodgers' face? So here's a guy who goes unchallenged as a player because the media gives him a pass.
Yep.
Jared Goff outperformed him in this game.
He sure
That's
did.
the bottom line. And then Todd Gurley, who right now is 1-2 with Patrick Mahomes as far as MVP in the NFL. Gurley should have gotten it last year.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as what he does, and then he proved the unselfishness of a teammate. He said, look, I could go in, pat my stats, but I'm going to let the clock run out.
Yep.
Because this is a team game, and we win this game as a team, not as a Todd Gurley.
I think that's a very good point because he had 114 yards, could have had 117 had he just run a few more, had he just fallen forward, Big C, but he put his team first. Okay, the thing about Aaron Rodgers that people won't get on him, if he looks himself in the mirror, when an interception is thrown, it comes out of his hands. Big C, the Cardinals, in the game of the week, 18, 49ers, 15. Big C, your thoughts?
Dalton, I mean, that was a barn burner from start to finish. I mean, you talk about a riveting performance that, you know, just left you captivated that you couldn't even walk away.
I can't put it
go
down.
Get another six-pack or go to the little boys' room. That's how this game was.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, nothing but marqueeism around it. You know,
broken
Rosen versus Beathard. You know, it was like, that was must-see TV
It
on
was
Sunday.
must-see TV, yeah. It was so good. Even Kershaw wanted to get knocked out early so he can see the game, Big C. I want to get your thoughts on the Raiders. The Raiders were, I don't know what to say about the Raiders. The Raiders fall at home again, 42-28. It's one of the rare times that I saw the Coliseum. I doubt if they had 40,000 fans, and that's a shame. Because that still means there's 40,000 ignorant people that don't see the suitcases packed on the outside of the stadium at the Coliseum. It's almost like they've tried to sell the story that Carr loves. He loves John Gruden. He doesn't love him. Body language is everything, Big C. He doesn't love him. He can't wait to get out of there. And a lot of the players, they don't love it either. No one wants to be where they're not wanted. And when the person running there's like people get off the Titanic, but some of them got off it too late. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at Carr's performance on Sunday, I mean, he did what he could do. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. He threw for 3 and he ran for 1. But, you know, we talked about Andrew Luck, that this was going to be an opportunity for Andrew Luck to go out and get healthy, Charles. And he did that. He hung up 45 points. But first and foremost, I want to give a bit of thanks and congratulations to Adam Vinatieri.
Amazing.
He became the NFL's all-time leading scorer, Charlton, on a field goal on Sunday versus the Raiders, passing Gary Anderson, a Hall of Fame kicker.
Yes.
You know, who had set that record, the lefty that played everywhere, New Orleans, Minnesota, you know, Atlanta, Kansas City. I mean, if they had a team, he was going to show up. But Adam Vinatieri just shows what longevity, professionalism, and craftsmanship would do in a career, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when you look at what the Colts were able to come across country and do, they had been struggling, you know, offensively and defensively, but they had enough defense to go out there and hold the Raiders in check. But that offense hanging 45 points.
That's a lot.
And I keep getting back to this point. John Gruden said, you got to teach somebody how to pass rush. What the hell did he do all week long?
I have no idea. It's a shame seeing such a great organization being run into the ground. I want to get to a game that you thought was really maybe the game that shows up, and it's going to make a big difference when we pick out who's going to have home field advantage in the playoffs. You look at what the Chiefs did to the Broncos, 30-23, and that quarterback Mahomes, and you were talking about how great he was when he was down at Texas Tech in college. Now everybody's riding him. Just give me your thoughts. A 30-23 win over the Broncos. The Broncos actually played okay to not have what they used to have 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they didn't have Brock Osweiler out there. That's the reason why.
That helps.
That helped them get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you look at what the Chiefs do, Charlton, they just come at you in so many different ways offensively.
Yeah.
But their defense is starting to get better. Their defense plays all out. They take chances. And that's the reason why they're giving up some big plays in games. But, Charlton, they put enough pressure on opposing quarterbacks playing all out, is that it has allowed their offense to force a team to try to keep up with them.
Yeah.
And when you think of what Mahomes did, you know, he dropped another 3 touchdowns this past weekend, another 300 yards passing, Charlton.
Yeah.
But with all the weapons that they have, Charlton, that's the thing that is what's amazing. You don't know who is going to get the ball.
No,
all you know is that there's 4 or 5 guys running down the field wearing red, and you don't know if your eyes are bloodshot from the night before, or you know, if it's the Kansas City Chiefs. But you know, when I look at what Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, has done with this team, Charlton, everybody keeps saying Andy Reid. Andy Reid's the same coach that was there last year. Okay,
same old song. Yeah.
But the offensive coordinator that they had is now. Nagy is the head coach of the Bears, and the Bears are much improved offense.
Yeah.
But this team with the Kansas City Chiefs is even a better offense than what Nagy ran, and they got a new offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah.
He recognizes what the talent does. He has a bunch of guys that look like him, and they think alike.
Yeah.
And so he's structured the offense, Charlton, and the plays to fit the players that he has and his mentality.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job there in Kansas City. A big win for the Chiefs. The Eagles 24, the Jaguars 18, and they were across the pond. And I just want to get your thoughts on, this is not the same Jaguars team that beat down New England when the season began. It's the Eagles team that seems like they're finding their wings, Big C, no pun intended. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they flew across the water, and they probably went first class also.
Yep.
but the Jacksonville, they may have to come back on the Titanic the way they play.
Yep.
You know, you look at Bortles, Charlton, and here's a guy that seems to have lost all his confidence as a quarterback. That's what I see with him. He's a guy who has no confidence. But, you know, the biggest difference in this Jacksonville offense, Charlton, this year versus last year, they don't have a running game. Leonard Fournette is not there.
No.
Where he was dominating the league last year at the running back position. So he took a lot of pressure off of Blake Bortles.
Yep.
He disguised the weaknesses that Blake Bortles had, that he wasn't an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
He got a lot of praise, and even when they beat New England early in the season, they had Blake Bortles. When they beat the Giants early in the season, I mean, they had Leonard Fournette in those 2 wins.
Yeah.
He's not there now, and this team is totally struggling, Charlton.
Yep.
And so when you have a quarterback that is skeptical, that should be benched, you should be looking at making a trade for him. Jameis Winston might, move from one side of Florida to another. It would be a good move for both teams. Take both of them out of a situation that they're in. But Blake Bortles is not the answer in Jacksonville if they want to go forward.
No, I agree, Big C. The Bears 24, the Jets 10, and Darnold was only 150 yards passing, 153 yards, 14 of 29. So under 50% again, not getting much heat. They're willing to just lose with the guy and hope that he can get better, as opposed to having a veteran. They could have had Bridgewater there, and he could have been learning how to win as opposed to taking his lumps. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if there's the next coach to go in the NFL, it most likely will be Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
He'll be blamed for the ineptitude of Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Is that he's not letting the young quarterback develop. Yet management wanted him in there, so they put him in there.
Yep.
To take his lumps. But he's the reason why the team is not performing. If you're not going to complete 50% of your passes in the NFL, you're going to lose. He and Mitch Trubisky is flip-flop roles this year. Last year, Mitch Trubisky was in that role when he was the quarterback for the Bears. So when they put him in, they said, okay, he's got to learn. They brought in a new head coach for him this year, Matt Nagy, who had been in Kansas City, and he's developed, Charlton. I mean, when you look at him, he's throwing touchdowns every game.
Yeah.
That's something Trubisky could not do last year, is throw touchdowns.
Yeah.
And so he's made this offense really good. Tariq Cohen is playing outstanding. Trey Burke has helped them at the tight end position coming over from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But this offensive line is doing a marvelous job, run and pass blocking. They're the unsung heroes of the Chicago Bears right now.
Yeah. I tell you what, Big C, a game that not many people thought would be a great game. The Bengals 37, the Buccaneers 34. Winston had 4 picks. No more than a lot. I think Garoppolo had 3 in his first game on the road against the Vikings. And people are saying, get rid of Winston, get rid of Winston. You don't get rid of Winston. It takes too long to rebuild. You just work with him. And I think Fitzpatrick, he had a lot of picks too. They're just unsettled at quarterback. But I do like the way Swaggy P plays quarterback. And just give me your thoughts on why are people still saying fire Marvin Lewis? Do they know they won the game, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Marvin and the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, everybody keeps talking about Andy's never won a playoff game. Well, there's a whole lot of quarterbacks in the NFL never been in a playoff game.
That's true.
So I don't know where the negativity comes from that. Marvin Lewis has his team leading the division right now.
Yep.
And, they've played solid football all year. I mean, Andy Dalton has played well. A.J. Green, Mixon, when he's coming back into the lineup, has done an excellent job. They've had a plethora of injuries in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But, when you look at this team in Tampa, I mean, this is a team at the skill position that's just as loaded as any team in the NFL, Charlton. They've had some uncertainty at quarterback. I mean, Fitzpatrick started off the season and broke a record in the first 3 games. No quarterback in NFL history had 3 consecutive 400-yard games, which he did.
Yep.
And when he was benched for Winston, Charlton, I always felt that was a bad move because when you look at 2 of those interceptions he had against Pittsburgh, they were not his fault. He gets blamed for them, but they weren't his fault. I always thought that the team should continue, but they said Winston was their future.
Yeah.
And I think Winston now is not their future, that he's going to be moved after this season is over, Charlton, that they'll run the rest of the way with Fitzpatrick. Because when you look at Winston, he's played 3 games this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
He has 10 interceptions in those 3 games.
Yep.
He missed the first 3 games of the season.
Yep.
So his 3 starts, he has 10 interceptions. That's not going to cut it in the NFL.
No, when he was out being a knucklehead, he could have been running practice with his best receivers the way the great Jerry Rice used to do with Joe Montana and Steve Young. Maybe he could find someone and figure out what that means. The Seahawks 28-24 over the Lions in Detroit. And there's something about the Seahawks look like they're finding themselves, Big C. I think they found their wings in Detroit. In reality, a lion would maul a Seahawk, Big C. But this time, have you ever seen a Seahawk maul a lion, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, everybody talked about the Legion of Boom no more. And, you and I opened up this program talking about there's a 5-year turnover in anything. If you haven't won, you got to gut it and start all over.
Yeah.
There's no need in having all these people around that haven't produced it. When you looked at the Seahawks defense of all those older players, look how long it was that they were in that first Super Bowl. That was some time ago.
Yeah.
And they weren't rookies at that time, Charlton. So they start to decline.
Yeah.
No one says anything to Bill Belichick in New England with the turnover of players that he has all the time. All you can remember is Brady. Everybody else is gone.
Yeah.
From these Super Bowls.
Yep.
So the turnover thing is about what can I get out of you now?
Yeah.
That's what it is. And Pete Carroll has done that. He's brought in some players to surround Russell Wilson to help him out offensively. He's not taking the beating that he had taken earlier in the year. They've gotten more cohesive. The defense is playing outstanding. You think about it, you give up 14 points, and you got Matt Stafford throwing on the other side of the ball, Charlton, who can light it up with the best of them in the NFL.
Yep.
It may not be the Legion of Boom, Charlton, but this might be the Legion of kicking some butt up north.
That's true. Speaking of kicking some butt, the Redskins 20, the Giants 13. And I know there's so many people that want to get on Beckham out of that New York media market. It doesn't make any sense. And you think of what the Redskins did. Adrian Peterson playing good again. But, Smith is a good quarterback also. Manning can throw for 316 yards, but he threw the 2 picks. It's those 2 picks that cost him. Plus, why is he throwing the ball 47 yards? Didn't they draft Saquon Barkley, a number 1 pick? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you think about Adrian Peterson gaining, 146 yards in the game?
Yep.
And you had just traded your best defensive lineman, Snacks. You sent him off, to someplace else. You sent him to Detroit to go play. You get rid of your number 1 draft pick, Apple. You send him to New Orleans. He's in on a win.
Yep.
So, but everybody wants to ride Beckham. I saw 2 balls going in Beckham's direction that was picked off.
Yeah.
Because people know the ball is not going to get there in a hurry, that you can jump the routes.
Yeah.
You got Barkley. I mean, the ground game, this offensive line that they have in New York is they can't pass block, they can't run block. I think Manning was sacked 5 times. 4 of them were on him, though.
His fault. He can't get out of the way.
Barkley couldn't get 40 yards rushing.
Nope.
He's more of a receiver than he is a running back right now, Charlton.
Yeah.
But the wideouts in New York are hapless. And when you look at the final score of that game, Charlton, It wasn't even that close. They get a meaningless touchdown at the end of the game, Charlton, with a minute to go in the game.
Yeah.
So all that did was look good on the scoreboard and scare the books in Vegas. That was it. But the game wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And Alex Smith, think about this. Alex Smith gets no credit. I don't care where he is.
No.
You know, Alex Smith is like the late Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know, he gets no respect. All he do is win for you, and no one gives him credit. You know, he won in San Francisco. He won in Kansas City. Now he has the Redskins in the first place in the NFC East. When was the last time the Redskins were in first place in the NFC East, Charles?
Yeah, been a while, Big C. Been a while.
10 years ago.
Yep, 10 years ago, Big C. 2 more games, and then Monday night, the Steelers 33, the Browns 18, costing Hugh Jackson a job. And there were people like Terry Bradshaw wanted to get rid of Mike Tomlin for winning. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Terry's going to continue to say that, Charlton, but Tomlin, you know, the Steelers had some problems early in the season. They've gotten those wrinkles worked out. You know, they're not sitting up waiting on Le'Veon Bell to make the team better, Charlton. They realize that they got to play with what they have there.
Yeah.
And not worry about Le'Veon coming back any week if he ever comes back.
Yep.
What they're doing right now, Charlton, is getting better as the season goes on. Ben has said, okay, I got to use the talent that I have.
Right.
Juju and Brown, Charlton, are as good a receiving core as that you're going to have at White House. McDonald's an outstanding young tight end. And Connors went through a slump there for a couple of games, Charlton, but he has his legs back under him.
Yeah.
And the defense is playing inspired, as you said. Cleveland got their coach fired.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Cleveland got their coach fired because their defense hasn't stopped anybody, and Mayfield is not throwing the ball on time.
And LeBron James was so inspired, he said, Cleveland, we have 2 professional coach openings. Big C, your thoughts? The Panthers, 36, the Ravens, 21. Cam Newton, I don't know what he found in that his hits in his head was working better. There were times when he played like his head was not in the game. And you were saying that, Big C. Here's a one-time NFL MVP. Now he looks like he has that leadership position. It's not always about how many yards you throw for in a game or how many yards you rush for in a game. But when I think about that leadership, Cam Newton was 21 of 29, 219. Almost a perfect game, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at the Panthers, Charlton, they scored 53 points in the last 5 quarters. That fourth quarter against the Eagles and in this last game.
Yeah.
That offense is clicking, but that defense is playing outstanding football. You think about since Thomas Davis has come back at linebacker, he and Luke Kuechly are outstanding tandem of linebackers, and they've been that way for the past couple of years in the NFL.
Yeah.
But Cam Newton is not trying to do too much.
No.
That's the difference in the Panthers' offense right now. He's relying on his weapons. He got Greg Olsen back at tight end, who was just as reliable as the tight end as anybody in the NFL, Charles.
Yep.
But you know, you just look at this team, and Rivera has them playing outstanding football right now.
Yeah, they are doing a great job of that. Big C, Monday Night Football tonight in Buffalo, New York. What an environment to be so far north, and a lot of people, whether it's Canada or the upstate New York, a lot of people love the Buffalo Bills. They have one of the older, more rustic stadiums, and they just haven't had a lot of success for their fans this year. They're 2-5 on the season. They've scored 81 points, given up 175. The Patriots 5-2. They've scored 214 points, but they've given up 179. This game's in Buffalo. Is there any type, you know, sometimes it rains on a sunny day, especially in Hawaii. Will there be any kind of shenanigans going on up in Buffalo, New York tonight, or will it be a cakewalk for the Patriots, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, a broken clock's right even twice a day, okay?
Yep.
So, you know, here it is. You got a guy who nobody wanted in the NFL at quarterback for 7 years in Buffalo. I mean, he can get lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like somebody won the Powerball last week, didn't he?
Yeah.
$1.6 billion.
Something like that.
You know, a 1 in 333 million chance, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So anybody can get lucky, even the Buffalo Bills. You know, Tom Brady can throw 4 picks tonight. You never know.
You never know.
But, you know, LaShawn McCoy might go off for 200 yards on the ground.
Yeah.
But I'll take the Patriots.
You take the Patriots. I think I'll take the Patriots too. We know it's all fair in love and war. As we close out, I just want to look at the NBA, they might feel a little bit ignored with the World Series being played and also with football, college, and then also professional football. Everybody's kind of ignoring the NBA, at least until Christmas, Big C. But some of the top scorers in the NBA, you have Steph Curry, 33.9, so 34 points. Big C, your thoughts on him? Damian Lillard averaging 34 a game. Kemba Walker averaging 32. Kevin Durant averages 30. Zach LaVine, 29 points. It seems to be everybody scoring points now in the NBA. That means no one's playing defense. I want to get your thoughts on why so many players are scoring above 30, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's just record scoring in the NBA across the board right now. But when you think about it, teams averaging record highs for average. They've taken away a lot of the defense that you can play. They've done it in football and they've done it in basketball also, Charlton. They figure that points are what drives the modern fan. It used to be a league about defense, keeping the opponents under 80, under 90, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what the NBA used to be about. Now it's about, let's see how many threes can we put up. And everybody has
Yep.
a minimum of 2 3-point shooters on the team. Some has 4.
Yeah.
You look at Golden State, 2 of the top 5 scorers in the league averaged over 30 points.
Yeah.
In Durant and Curry. That's, numbers that are astronomical when you look at it.
Yeah.
But, this is a league that, because all these fantasy leagues exist, Charlton, in the NFL and in pro basketball, that people are making money on players scoring.
Yeah.
And so everybody's getting a cut somewhere. The NBA is getting a cut. I mean, they talk about getting a percentage of what Vegas was getting on bets.
Yep.
So, there's a reason for all this to occur.
That's funny, Big C. I love this time of year. Thanksgiving's coming up, Big C. A lot of people getting ready for some yard birds. I know turkeys are getting a little bit nervous, especially down south. I really want to congratulate the Boston Red Sox on winning another World Series, maybe the best team that Boston's ever produced. I think a lot of people can argue whether it's the Yankees or whether it's the Red Sox. And then the Dodgers, don't be down too low. Don't feel too blue, Big C. If you're the Dodger Blue, you still got a great team, and they'll probably be back in the swing of things next year. Of course, NFL's big, college football is big, but everything's big, Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, is a marquee matchup tonight in the NBA. The last 2 undefeated teams, the Bucks. And I'm not talking about the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm talking about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes.
And the Toronto Raptors. But the 2 marquee players are going to be out of the game tonight, Charlton. Giannis is not going to play for the Bucks. He's under concussion protocol. And Leonard, who only played 9 games last year with San Antonio, is under a minute, count.
Yeah.
So both of those players are going to miss the game tonight, Charlton. But after tonight, there's only going to be 1 team left in the NBA that's undefeated.
Well, I tell you what, Big C, they're undefeated, and we're undefeated, and you can be undefeated too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.